Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 211, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is
Lotus Prince.
Sticking Those Landings. Oh,
Two
yeah.
in a row. I can hardly believe it.
Go for it. Connect 4.
We're almost there.
It's some zany action, a crazy contraption, it's fun,
No.
It's action, it's mousetrap.
It's Floam. I mean Mousetrap. Remember Floam?
Yes, I do. And Zand. Do you remember
Zand?
Zand?
I had forgotten, but I do remember that, yes.
And the Grape Escape, you remember that board game?
I do.
With the Play-Doh and you squish all the grapes.
Remember Gak?
How can you forget Gak? Come on.
Well, all right.
It was a Gak attack. I mean, kids from the 90s, you know, if you watched any Nickelodeon at all, or even if you didn't,
you're gonna see some Gak.
Yeah, there was Gak everywhere, really, and slime too. There was slime.
There's loads of slime.
90s were all about gross humor, like boogers and slime.
Yeah.
And
Want to play Boogerman on the Genesis?
Exactly. It was all about that.
Want to play as Boogerman in Clay Fighter 63 and a third?
I don't want to play it at all. But
you are correct.
But anyway, we have another wonderful show here for you. We are talking about one of our favorite series, once again, Castlevania. We left off right about to talk about the first Game Boy entry, but I wanted to quickly mention one thing first, because I did not get a chance to talk about it, and I kind of forgot about it until I thought about it a little bit. But one of the things that was cool back then is not too many third-party Nintendo games had much representation in media. But you know, you would see your Mario cartoons, and you would see your your Zelda cartoon or whatever. But third-party stuff didn't get nearly as much love. But one of the few characters to show up in Captain N was Simon Belmont. So I
and that was
quickly throw
one
that
of the
out there.
more accurate depictions of a video game character.
Not at all. He was
Oh, he wasn't?
He was a very Fabio-esque type. He was a pretty
Yeah, he
boy.
wasn't like that in the game. He wasn't always looking in the mirror at himself.
He's a barbarian.
Oh,
he had a parka
okay.
for some reason too, and whereas we're used to Simon Belmont having leather armor and
Yes.
and a loincloth basically, but it's not a loincloth, but leather armor, just. Don't go back to it. Let's just say that the depictions of Game Boy, Mega Man, and Kid Icarus were probably worse. But
Mega Man was utter perfection, as was Mother Brain.
Mother Brain.
I can't believe that the Nintendo games ruined the depictions of these Captain N characters.
Do you know who the voice of Mother Brain was?
Yeah, it was. I don't know the guy's name, but it was
Yeah.
Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yep. But very fitting. I just wanted to throw that out there, that he did have some cartoon representation. But then moving on from that, the last game we went over was basically Haunted Castle and Castlevania 2. But in 1989 they came out with Castlevania: The Adventure, which is the first Game Boy title. This game is one of the probably the lesser titles of Castlevania. It's not bad, but in comparison to everything else that you can be playing, it's just not there. The graphics are very simplistic, even with amongst Game Boy standards. The music, though, is fantastic. So if you have the chance, definitely put it on a YouTube playlist or something, because the music is phenomenal. The game was it's very slow. It has a lot of slowdown issues. They can't even put stairs in the game. You have to go on ropes.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
yeah.
there were ropes, weren't there?
It doesn't. I don't think there are sub weapons in the first Game Boy game. And it features Christoph Belmont, I think is the character in that one.
That I don't even know.
Yeah, a lesser known Belmont for sure. Featured in the Castlevania trade paperback. Actually,
Oh.
they expanded upon his mythology a little bit more. But it's okay. For back in the day, I liked playing it because it was Castlevania, but certainly there were improvements. Because later on that year, one of the best games ever made in general came out, which was Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse.
Wait, I thought we were talking about Bubsy 3D.
And we're not to that point in history yet, my friend.
Well, actually, no. When you're saying Castlevania 3, was this before the second Castlevania adventure?
Yes.
Okay.
So I am following the timeline correctly. But yeah, Castlevania 3 is featuring Trevor Belmont, a ancestor of Simon Belmont. So
yeah, but what's his real name though?
His name is Ralph.
Ralph.
Ralph
Belmondo.
They luckily changed it because Ralph is not a cool name.
Yeah,
Trevor
some people
is way
even
cooler.
gave Trevor crap, but like Ralph.
Nah,
Belmont's.
Trevor's fine.
Trevor's fine.
But this game is a landmark game in the series. It is one of the best. Like, if you had to name like a top 5 NES games, almost everybody would put this game on their list. Maybe even top 3, depending on who you are. It's certainly on my list of games. I would say, if I had to pick favorite games on the NES, I would go with Mario 3.
And Mario
Castlevania 3
is way up there.
And probably Contra, and Zelda's up there too. So like I would have to say and Mega Man 2. So I would say top 5 games. Like almost everybody's gonna throw this game up there. But
well, and you know what the real way to go for this is? I'm sure you'll get there, but the Japanese version of Castlevania 3.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say in the Japanese version of the game, which is called Akumajo Densetsu, which is like the Legend of Dracula.
Yeah.
Or Legend of Demon Castle.
Okay.
Yeah, Akumajo. Yeah. So it's Demon Castle. Yeah, or Devil Castle. So Castlevania 3 had an extra chip called the MMC5 chip that they only used on a couple different games, and it has an additional sound channel and everything. And if you can play the Famicom
Yes.
version of this game, because the music
you can actually go to YouTube and look up the track comparisons. It's like, it's not like, oh well, now that you mention it, like, there is clearly more going on in the Japanese tracks.
Yeah, I mean the music is fantastic in the NES version. I should mention that.
You know what it makes me think of though, like. Because, it really is such a great soundtrack on the NES, and we've been going all this time not realizing what we missed.
Yeah.
Like, this whole... Like, it makes me think of... I remember seeing a long time ago on the internet a post about the pyramids. The Egyptian pyramids. Like, they were supposed to be covered with gold and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we think, like, the pyramids are the coolest thing ever, but it's like being infatuated with like a car chassis and not realizing there's supposed to be like a car around it.
It's like looking at like ancient Greek statues and not realizing they were supposed to be painted.
They had supposed to be in color.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, oh.
Yeah, like there's a whole nother level to it. So
Yeah.
the music is great on its own. Like don't poo-poo the NES version, but
No, it's a brilliant soundtrack, but what if you added like just more, I mean, you already said, like more layers, more instruments.
I'm going to go ahead and say this game has probably the best soundtrack on the entire system.
You know what disappointed me greatly, by the way?
What's that?
Because I looked up what that soundtrack was. It was like the VC6 thing.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what? Show me all the games that have it, and I think it's the only one.
There's one other game, and it doesn't use the music channels.
Oh, I was
it
so
was
disappointed. I
Tiny
was
Toon
so
Advent
disappointed.
Tiny Toon Adventures 2 uses
Because
the
I
same
was gonna
chip.
say, like, imagine what other potential. No, nothing.
Yeah, it was like the VRC3 chip, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Japanese version. The NES version uses the MMC5 chip, I think. But yeah, yeah, and there's also graphical enhancements in the Famicom version as well that just make the game so much better. So what makes this game special is not only does it control the best and play the best out of all of the Castlevanias up until this point, but it also is a lot more complex. It has branching paths, and
Yeah.
along with those branching paths, so tons of levels. But along with that, you have the possibility of running into new playable characters.
Which you
That
could swap to on the fly, which is
Yes.
insane.
So by pressing the select button, you can go to can swap between Trevor or Ralph, and
Well, yeah, Trevor slash Ralph and
any of the three characters. You can only have one more in your party at a time.
yeah, yeah.
But they are Sylpha. Or Sylphia, depending on what source you're looking at.
Well, at this
Who
point, if you watch like the Netflix series, they kind of hammered that one down.
Gotcha. Well, spoilers, man. We're gonna get there.
It turns out there's a Castlevania adaptation. We never mentioned it.
A popular one at that is
Yeah.
popular outside of the video games, but
Yes.
yeah, actually, like people that don't have never played the video game watch it. Like it's a popular anime.
Oh, a fun fact about Sifa, by the way, I think that's the name. She's like this woman like magic user, but
Yes.
like you can't tell like what she looks like on the Nintendo sprite. So I think the American manual has her like as like a hunched over like old man with a beard, like wizard guy.
Yeah,
And it's like,
in fact,
oh.
it does not reveal that she is a female character until the very end of the game. If you beat the game with her, she takes off her hood, so you could clearly see a feminine,
Yeah,
long-haired character.
but it's just straight up like, no, he's an old guy. Like, oh, okay, fine.
It's very Metroid of the era, to have like that as a
Yeah, but
twist.
that seems like an
Yeah.
accident on the localization part.
Yeah,
It's just
no.
like, I don't know, this is what we think it is.
Konami was not the best localizer back in the day, even though they were one of the major third-party licensees on the system. But anyway, there is Grant Dynasty. He is a pirate who can walk on ceilings and walls.
Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry to do this, but speaking of abilities, Kusifa can actually use her magic.
Oh, yeah.
She can do pretty radical stuff in the game, like
There's
throw
ice and
fireballs at
fire.
enemies.
Ice and
Yeah,
fire.
well, yeah, she can cast ice on water and just walk across it and not die until it wears off. This is a weird reference to make, but it's like Holy Diver in that regard.
Yeah, I think I think Grant is considered the hardest one, even though he gives you a lot of ability. Because he can climb walls. He can climb
Yeah,
walls
yeah.
and ceilings, which is a fantastic ability to have. But Sypha is very powerful, and
Yeah,
the
her
third
her horizontal potential, just going from left to right, like just nothing gets in her way.
and also the mythology like expands a lot because of this game, because you have a lot of other characters, and the third character, sub character, is probably the most important, which is Alucard, or Dracula's
Yeah.
son.
Alucard's Dracula backward.
But yeah, this was actually the first time they took into account, Alucard, which is one of the another Universal character.
That is true. Yeah, Alucard is not like a Konami creation
No.
or like the anime Hellsing, like the black and white movie Son of Dracula, where they even have a thing where the guy reads Alucard's name and then he starts
He
going
sees it
from
in a
right to
mirror or
left. He's
something.
like D. No, I don't think it was even that. I think he just looked at it, just tried reading it backwards, where you see him going like D, R, A, and then somebody
Yeah.
interrupts him, and the audience is like, "Oh."
When you hear it like said aloud, you don't realize it, but obviously if you see it written, you're like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Alucard, and he very much looks like a typical Bela Lugosi style vampire
Yeah.
in this one. He has the cape, he has the dark hair. Um,
This was before he became a Final Fantasy character.
but what was cool about him was that he could shapeshift. He could turn into a bat, which was a huge deal in a difficult platformer. Um, you know
And
the
again, on an NES title, like you might not have even thought that would happen in a video game. You can become a bat. I mean, I guess you could become a fairy in Zelda 2, but that's still very unconventional.
Yeah, no, well, this game is just chock full of abilities and all kinds of things that you could do. Very
And
few
Alucard would
games.
keep that ability, by the way, in PS1.
Oh yeah, no, it would be a mainstay of the character throughout the rest of the series. And it's a huge help, especially in this game where there are plenty of pitfalls lying around.
Yeah.
Um, and this game probably has the coolest and most iconic um, of the clock towers. If you ask me, I
Yeah, with
really
the
love the
turning
clock
gears and
tower.
everything, it looks really gorgeous.
Yeah, for an NES game, it looks especially good. There are a lot of really cool art decisions that are homages to the Count of Cagliostro, including which is a Lupin the Third movie that Miyazaki worked on.
Yeah, that's. I think that might have been my first Miyazaki movie.
Well, it was Miyazaki's first movie too.
Yeah.
But the design of Castlevania, the actual castle, is very much inspired by the castle in that movie. The crucifix at the beginning of the game very much looks like the crucifix in the chapel in that
Speaking of the crucifix at the
movie.
beginning of the game, that wasn't even in the American version, was it?
So there is a crucifix, but it's less ornate.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those like later titles that got away with a little bit more than some of the earlier ones,
Okay.
for sure. But yeah, this game just all around it has some of the best music in the entire series.
The music
Uh,
is killer.
it's
Like
so
level
good.
one's theme honestly rivals and possibly even exceeds Vampire Killer.
Yeah, so this also solidifies the alliance between Alucard and the Belmonts.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Alucard is no fan of Dracula.
No, he hates him, and this is also being adapted currently in the Castlevania anime on Netflix, which is written by Garth Ennis, I think,
Oh
which is a
wow.
famous comic book author, who made Preacher, most famous probably for Preacher. But yeah, it's actually really really good. I think every character is represented except for Grant so far.
Yeah, I don't think Grant's ever been touched in that show.
But it's a very good adaptation,
And
surprisingly.
by the way, it's pretty weird that they haven't referenced Grant because they
Yeah,
referenced some weird characters. Like they've referenced some of like the bosses from the PS2
yeah,
games.
yeah. Grant is like the first sub character that you run into as well, which is kind of funny.
I mean, Alucard is obviously the biggest deal.
Sure.
But Grant or Sypha, like I don't know which one do you want. They went with Sypha and they
Well,
made her freaking awesome. But like, yeah, Grant is
she's
just
also a love
conspicuously missing.
interest too. I mean, like by default.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's still cool. It also turns out that she has ancestors in the series as well. She actually has an ancestor in one of the DS games.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, if
How do they relate to Carrie from Castlevania 64?
they
I think that's her name.
nobody
I
re-
could be wrong.
nobody relates to them.
Where she has
Uh,
a medallion that shoots things, and she's like way better
I
than
think she's from the
Reinhardt.
same like clan as Silpha in it, or Sypha.
What is her
That
name?
was her.
It is Carrie.
Yeah,
Okay, Carrie Fernandez.
but yeah, just all around a fantastic and great game. And moving on from that, we have Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, which is the second Game
Yes,
Boy
the other
title.
Game Boy.
This is 91. Much better game. Music is still great. A lot more graphical detail. Still not a fantastic game, but much, much better. If you're going to play one of them, that's the one to play. They
By the way,
added back in
go ahead, go
the
ahead.
sub weapons as well in that game too. Go
Oh,
ahead.
very nice.
Yeah.
Now, I was gonna say I understand that I'm jumping way ahead on this, but which of those Game Boy games? Because I don't think it was the third one. Which of those Game Boy games got the WiiWare treatment? Was that the first Castlevania adventure?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that one. That one's actually the last like Konami made
Yeah,
Castlevania
yeah, it's
game.
way at the end.
Yeah, but yeah, it was remade and is much much better. But yeah, we haven't gotten to that
It's
yet.
got colors.
Yeah, but Castlevania 2 was also a this is the other Castlevania 2, the Game Boy one. It supposedly happens to the same character as the first one, Christophe Belmont. He is trying to rescue his son, who got turned into a demon in this one. I think his name is Soleil or something like that. And moving on from that, another one of the best games in the series, Super Castlevania 4, the first 16-bit Castlevania game.
Yeah, where you have full whip control.
Yeah, and probably the only game to have that until Symphony of the Night, when you play as Richter. So,
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
but yeah, you can whip it around, but I don't think you can whip it in multiple directions like you can in this game. This game is iconic. It is certainly an example of a game that you would show off the Super Nintendo with. In fact,
Yeah,
it was a launch era title for the Super Nintendo,
like
and
the swinging chandeliers, the rotating room.
it certainly is an example of a showstopper for the system.
Yeah,
It also has some of the best music for the Super Nintendo, if
music's
you ask me.
amazing. You got the ballroom with all the dancing ghosts.
Um, the aesthetics, the look of it looks 16-bit. Like it looks like
Yeah.
leaps and bounds above the previous games in
What
terms
was
of
great was
graphics.
the werewolf's entrance from the background.
So good. It is also not technically the fourth game.
Yeah, what
Like
was it like Dracula X?
well, no, Dracula X is later, but
I guess Rondo of Blood then.
it well, no, that's the same game.
I guess Symphony of the Night then. Wait a second.
Castlevania 4 in Japan is just called Akumaja Dracula, which is the same name as the original game.
Yeah,
So I would say this, that a lot of people believe this to just simply be a remake of the original game, and in a lot of ways it is. It is
yeah.
its own game. However, you are Simon again, going through the same story as the original Castlevania. So, but it is a fantastic game. It's easier than a lot of the other titles just because of the amount of you can whip it any direction at any time.
Yeah, that changes a lot.
Yeah, and it's the only game to do so. That should tell you something. It it's not an easy game, but it's a lot easier than a lot of other Castlevania games. Let's just put it that way. Um, it has one of the coolest lead ups to Dracula in any of the games ever. It's very climactic. It's very cinematic. The music is forever remixed on OC Remix. It's just
Oh yeah.
really, really, really good. And I definitely recommend playing that one. Now, after that, there was a new, another remake of Castlevania 1 on the X68000 that eventually got ported to the PlayStation 1 as Castlevania Legends. Or Castlevania Chronicles, I'm sorry. No, Legends. No, Legends is it. This is also a really fantastic game, but it is super hard. It looks cool. It has some cool graphical effects. In some ways, it's similar to Castlevania 4, but it's not as iconic, if you ask me. But it was on the Japanese computers. It is a cool game to go back to for sure, and it is accessible to Americans. It's on PSN as Castlevania Legends, and or no, it's not Castlevania Legends. It's Chronicles. I'm sorry. Legends is the third Game Boy game. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this game, Castlevania Chronicles, is a lot of fun. Definitely check it out, but it's very, very difficult. It's like one of the hardest games in the series. And then after that, you have we're in '93. I may want to save this for next time because
Sure.
this is a crossroads where Castlevania evolves again. So if you ask me,
All right, fair enough.
it's not a
We can
remake;
move
it's a
on
brand new game, and
Yeah.
it's really really good. I also want to throw out real quick that most of this Castlevania series is available and easily obtainable right now. It's one of the best times to explore the Castlevania series. So I definitely recommend getting the Castlevania collection on Switch and PS4 or PC. And there's if you really want to, you can play Haunted Castle. That's available too.
Yeah, that's more of an amusing novelty, but like, if you game over at the first level, don't feel bad.
Yeah, that one's available on the Konami Arcade Collection that came out around the same time. But what's cool about those collections is that they offer you the Japanese versions of these games, as well as the US releases and even some of the PAL releases. So that's pretty cool. And it has almost all of them. It does not have the MSX game, but it has all of the other ones that we've mentioned, actually. And one more, the Genesis game that we will go over probably next time.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But yeah, it has them all. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, and both Game Boy games. So
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
it's a fantastic bang for your buck, and especially all the ability to play all of the Japanese versions is very much appreciated,
Yeah,
especially
that's
with
amazing
the third game.
for Castlevania 3 on NES.
And
Yes.
we also forgot to mention a spin-off, but we'll go over that next time.
You actually have me curious.
It's a game where you play as Alucard, not
Oh,
Symphony
so
of
it's
the
not
Night.
Judgment where you play as Death Note characters.
No, it's Symphony of the Night before Symphony of the Night. So
Wow. Wow.
and
Okay.
and the bad guy even shows up in Symphony of the Night,
Huh.
the villain. So we'll go
Okay.
over that next time. But we should move on to
Alright.
fan stuff while we're at it.
Certainly. So Living Corpse left several comments. So one of them was talking about that trailer for Gamer Girl. And he says, I learned about Gamer Girl from Critical. I am dying from secondhand embarrassment. If they're going to tackle such a topic, maybe actually ask Twitch streamers with toxic fan bases to be advisors in the story. Yeah, like, you did it, Living Corpse. You cracked the code. Like, it seems obvious, but apparently it isn't.
Hey,
so good for you for
want to
knowing
have a
more than an
trans
entire dev team.
character in your show, and you don't want to insult trans people? Have a trans person work on your
Yeah,
show,
what?
or a panel
Wi-
of trans people. Even better that. Yeah,
Women are so hard to write. I'd rather make an entire lore and pantheon of aliens, but women, I don't fucking know, man. If only there was some way I could find out, but I guess it just is a mystery. I don't know. Oh well. Also, Living Corpse continues with that same comment. Also, is it just me, or is it attempts to be like Night Trap and failing? I mean, FMV games aren't all like Night Trap. This is more. It seems like a choose your own adventure.
I don't know if you
rather
can
than, like,
fail to be like Night Trap.
Yeah, like Night Trap is like
It's bad at being Night Trap.
extremely short window QTEs, like the entire game. So I don't think
To
this is
beat
that.
that game, it's almost impossible. You have
you-
to play that game perfectly.
You must play with two people, where one person
The spotter.
plays and the other person is like, yeah, at 1 minute and 37 seconds, go here, because you are not doing that shit by
I think
yourself.
the first enemy that you have to kill, and you have to do everything perfectly. The first enemy that you have to kill is in the first like 20 seconds. Something
Yeah,
crazy.
you have to be a freaking wizard. Okay, so also, Lotus bringing up kids not getting older references reminds me, I feel like a lot of newer movies and games don't have the same staying power or cultural impact as some stuff in the past. Like, there's more stuff in the 80s and 90s still being talked about, referenced today, decades later, but we have a lot of newer games and movies that are just as good or even better, but not as memorable for whatever reason, and they get forgotten after a few years. There's an exception, like the Dark Knight trilogy, but it makes me sad for the newer stuff. For this,
Absolutely right. I completely agree.
well, you know what? I was actually going to disagree.
Really?
And here's why. There's more stuff from the 80s and 90s being talked about because we're old enough to make movies and games and reference the 80s and 90s. There's always 30-year stuff going on. Like the 80s referenced the 50s with 3D came back in the
sure.
70s, and 3D came back again recently. We're making shit that we know, that we grew up with, and maybe that includes stuff that our dad talked about, so that's why we have the Lone Ranger movie, even though that's from the 40s. But for the newer stuff, we're not going to reference it because we're not watching it in our formative years, but maybe kids are. They're going to meme shit that we don't know what it is, and that'll live on later, and we're going to be the adults who are like, I don't know what
Yeah,
these
they're
kids
going to be
are doing.
referencing stuff in Fortnite all over the place, and
I mean,
and
now
Minecraft.
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
You could say that the newer Star Wars movies may not have the kind of impact as the old ones because we're adults now and we're not as wowed by them, and the little kids aren't going to watch fucking episode 8 of Star Wars when they didn't grow up with the rest of it.
My little
they're-
cousin grew up in the era of the prequels, and those are his Star Wars films. I mean,
Yeah,
say what you
and
want
why
about them.
why not start at episode 1? It's episode 1. It's the first one, right? Well, look, I mean, I know if you've seen the original trilogy, it heavily tips its hands to assuming you've already seen them. But still, who's going to say no in a vacuum to watching episode 1? What the fuck ever. And again, just like a lot of the movies we watched, they have their flaws, and we gloss over them because it was fun and we were kids. Younger people are a lot more forgiving of the prequels because that's just what they watched when they were kids. Who cares?
Well-
It's like Stephen King's It. It's not very good, but I still like it.
I do have to agree though that discourse on a particular topic does not last long before it moves on though.
No, that is true. Back when movies were it and we didn't have the internet, movies were what we had to talk about. So there was more impact because there kind of had to be.
Yeah, I mean, people would be talking about Lion King for several years, as one of the big movies.
That is true. Now that you can watch anything at any time on streaming services, it's not going to be like this is the big thing and it's in theaters and you don't have a TV, so this is what you're watching.
I actually thought it was actually pretty astute of Disney when they released their service to not allow you to binge things until they put out everything. Just like a TV channel, you could only watch one episode of Mandalorian at a time, as they were coming out. I thought that was
clever.
I thought that was very smart because people were talking about it and got excellent word of mouth because of it.
And not only that, it just it's disappointing to me when something you've been waiting for 3 years finally comes out.
And it just all dumps out at once, right?
No, not that it dumps out at once, that you watch it all at once. A day goes by and you're like, got it, done.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, really? That was it?
It's like reading that Tankobon of Berserk once a year like I do.
Well, yeah,
been waiting all year for this.
My brother had been lending me his big IDW collections of Usagi Yojimbo. I read fucking 30 years of content over the course of several weeks. Got it. I'm caught up now.
It seems kind of trivial, doesn't it? I have all of Grant Morrison's DC output right behind me, and all told, it takes up 2 shelves on my bookshelf. But
yeah,
it's kind of funny that it's all condensed. It's
well,
just
and
that.
even then, there's Gantz. I kind of felt bad, not that I impacted you with this, but I still felt bad about it, was that you were reading Gantz when each volume got localized. I read Scanlations. I was fucking done. I beat you to the end of the series you've been following for years.
Well,
and I did it in no time.
At that point I was just I could just go online and do it, but I've been buying these as they've been coming out.
That's what I do with One Piece. I keep watching it 1 episode per week when with the manga I could just fucking move.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also like Attack on Titan. You can binge Attack on Titan, but it was 5 years between season 1 and season 2. Season 2 happened. like episode 2 or 3 of season 2, 5 years after it aired. And Erin's like, oh my god, I just killed my first Titan. And I'm like, that's impossible. And then I remembered that, like, after the training montage, season 1 to 2 has been over the course of, like a couple of days. So it actually really hasn't been that long. I was like, oh.
It's like reading that fourth Dark Tower book. Like,
yeah, we just pick up where we left off. Got it. And then the train thing's over.
You
really?
have no idea how long people were waiting for that shit.
And then it just ended, like, immediately. And then the rest of the book's a different story. You're like, oh. All right. Anyway, Living Corpse also mentions the demake for Silent Hill 2 is called Soundless Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. And I always like Simon's barbarian look. Glad they gave him that look in Smash.
Oh,
yep.
yeah.
Another story about Vlad the Impaler. This is something I had not heard about. Once Vlad left a gold goblet in the middle of a village and came back to see if anyone would take it. None did. And I can't remember who they were, but there was an army getting ready to invade Vlad's kingdom. By every account, they would have won. No questions asked. Like, they should have logically won in a fight. But when they saw the forest of impaled bodies, they were like, nope. Because, like, yeah, they would win the war, but, like, you don't want to be that one poor bastard who gets caught and fucking impaled.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, fuck this.
And they would impale, like, the leaders first.
But just whoever they captured.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be that guy. So it's like, nope. As for Bathory, she supposedly had some captives tortured with a burning rod, like a branding iron, I guess. I say supposedly because it's possible she was innocent and her enemies started rumors to remove her from power. Yeah, like Edgar Allan Poe, everyone talked about him as this macabre, like, druggie and everything, but, like, not really. He's even written some comedy, but you would never know it from everyone who talked after he died. And one more from Living Corpse. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes European Extreme Mode for toughest things you beat. That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
I got as far as the Heinz D fight and gave up. You're goddamn right. Heinz D. You have to memorize where he hid to avoid gunfire, since you can't tank the shots like on lower settings. I looked up a guide, and the places that are safe from gunfire keep changing, both from where the helicopter is and as the battle progresses, and it's a long fight. I couldn't remember all the spots and when they're safe. And I could never beat any of the Smash games on highest setting. I'll lose all my lives by the second match. As bad as I made RE0's hard mode to be, it was at least doable. I'm getting old. Yeah, RE0's hard mode was a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
And then Connor had a couple of comments. I was somewhat interested in Ghost of Tsushima a while back, but the initial gameplay reveal hinted, and subsequent reviews confirmed, that it's an open-world game like the Ubisoft style. Here's a map full of icons. Go clear them. While I have no doubt it's a solid game, I'm burned out on those kinds of games currently.
I don't blame you.
You had fun cleaning out that bandit camp? Here are 30 more identical camps. Clear them all out to get a new sword. I wish there was more risk-taking among AAA developers when it comes to open-world game design, but given the size of the budgets involved with them, I suppose risk isn't something many of them can afford to take. Honestly, the only open-world game on the horizon that I'm looking forward to is... No, not Horizon. Elden Ring. Because it's pretty likely that FromSoft will do something unique and interesting rather than follow the usual open worlds. It's funny you say unique and interesting rather than follow the usual open worlds. I suspect they'll follow the usual FromSoft formula, but I guess we'll see.
Well, if I had to pick, like, good open world titles, I would say, like, Zelda.
I do like Horizon.
Horizon Zero Dawn and Spider-Man. Those are, like, the three that I would pick. Oh my
god, Spider-Man was so good.
Yeah, and Zelda,
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, yeah, it was really good.
And then one more from Connor. Hitman 2 Silent Assassin was certainly difficult, but Hitman Codename 47 was brutal. That was the original Hitman game. Mostly because, I played Hitman 2 because, it was on GameCube. I had a GameCube.
Yeah, that was the first console title was 2.
Yeah, like I didn't have Codename 47. So mostly because you could not save mid-mission, and some of those missions could take an hour or more to complete. Jesus Christ, really? One tiny mistake and you're right back to the start. Not to mention that there were usually only one or two ways through a level, and they were never obvious. Yeah, welcome to my frustration with Hitman 2.
Yeah.
I could only finish some missions by following a guide literally step for step. The thing with difficulty in games is that, sure, there are plenty of tough games, but very few that are tough in a fair way. Most difficult games throw cheap deaths at you or inflate enemy health and damage with no thought to how it impacts the overall game design, working designs. I think that's why the Soulsborne games are so successful. Yeah, they're tough, but they're designed around that and are rarely unfair. Well, yeah, you learn enemy patterns, you could level up your own stats so they can't one-shot you anymore, now they can two-shot you. Now they can three-shot you, get better armor, et cetera, et cetera.
I might also add that I hear that the Hitman reboot series is like way better in this regard.
Yeah, apparently they're quite good.
Yeah, they're a lot more beginner friendly too, and they're more sandboxes than anything.
Yes,
each level.
You know what's funny? I've seen in some GDQ runs that in at least one of those games, the coin, just a coin, is a complete get out of jail free card. Like you just flick a coin and it bounces somewhere, and like every single guard, what was that noise? And they just don't look at you, and you run right by them. It's like a free pass wherever you go.
Oh, I want to add that Ghost of Tsushima is now considered the fastest selling new IP on.
People are really eating this up.
Yeah, apparently people really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to getting it eventually.
Yeah, me too.
So one more, two more comments, but one more commenter. So Dracologist says, I heard good things of Ghost of Tsushima, despite how there are people who want to bury it for some unknown reason. No Paper Mario will be as good as 1,000 Year Door, and its rather sharp corners. Worms Armageddon update? Maybe they try to make it closer to World Party. I've seen Diggletopia on Steam, but I thought it was one of the many hack jobs Steam is infested with, so whoops. You might not be wrong. we'll find out.
But in the best way.
Yeah, sure. I know. And then Dracologist says, no, Count Tepesh was not related to Elizabeth Bathory, because you said that last week. Bathory was a Hungarian noblewoman whose name was dragged through the mud with the whole bloody bath rumors. The rumors started because when her husband died, she inherited such wealth that she was richer than the king, and that pissed off the court. So they stated this ill-willed rumor up to ruin her reputation. I mean, what does Dracologist know about Hungarian history, though? I don't know. Seems like a weird subject to bring up out of nowhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, Jet Set Willie, one of those old Commodore 64 soul breakers. Hard games.
I think that was even one of those games where you couldn't even complete, like, the entire game because,
some
like...
janky programming.
Yeah, exactly. They had to fix some room that had a bug in it or something.
Yeah. And then he says, hard games. The later The Incredible Machine games have not just lateral thinking, but placing the puzzle pieces in pixel perfect, which can be annoying. Yeah, that's very annoying when you know the answer and you still can't do it.
That, yeah.
Darkest Dungeon is similar to the Souls-like in that you have to learn it. Fair enough, but like it just irritated me. It's not just about the reflexes, moves, and single attacks, but which mission requires which party members. Fair enough. And which skill set you need, and which inventory items you need, and which enemy is weak to what. So, fair enough, but like, I fucking irritated me. Faffy, but not impossible. And then also, there was an arcade racer that was just straight up unfair, called Blaze Rush. That game is bad design after bad design, with cheaty AI. Xenon Racer last level is a bit crazy as you're asked to race against a futuristic aircraft and win. Oh no.
Wow.
It's like, it reminds me of, like, I mean, this isn't that level of bullshit, but it just reminds me of Whiz-Pig in Diddy Kong Racing, where he's just flying through all this laser shit, and you're like, oh, come on! And then the question, Living Corpse, asks, if you had to go through an apocalypse, which poison would you pick? I'd go through a Daikaiju apocalypse. If the world's gotta end, what better way to end it on than a bang, than energy shooting giant monsters fighting each other and destroying whatever's caught in the middle? So, I mean, there's a bunch of apocalypses, right? There's like, the robot apocalypse in The Matrix. There's the Mad Max apocalypse. There's low-hanging fruit zombie apocalypse. There's alien invasion. Like, there's a lot. There's a disease that just kills everybody, like Resident Evil style, but not the bullshit movies where just people die. Yeah, I Am Legend, where it's not even a fucking apocalypse.
Vampires.
Just everyone, like, you're the one guy who didn't evolve. It's like, oh, okay. There's a lot to work with here. There's that one Twilight Zone episode, Apocalypse, where everybody's just dead but you.
The virus is also like the stand level, kind of.
Oh man, that fucking sucked. That was rough. Yeah.
They're all
Is this the work
bad.
of Stand?
But I mean,
I'm trying to think of one. It's tough because it's between something. For me, it's something between like Mad Max, like Hokuto style, where people become punks and you got to watch out for that. But I don't think anything would devolve to like Hokuto thugs. So it's more like a gas shortage and working your way around that. That's survivable versus what just kills me quickly. Like zombies, I would not want because you're getting eaten alive.
And then you may
Godzilla,
turn. You may turn, which is awful.
you may turn. Godzilla, maybe he steps on you or blows you the fuck up. That's super quick, you know, like maybe something like that.
I know which one I want.
Yeah, what would that be?
If I had to pick one, there's also Waterworld. We forgot about that. We forgot the
Oh
Waterworld
wow,
scenario.
yeah. There's Dune and there's Waterworld. Yeah, where oh shit, who's the bad guy in that? Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
You know what was a great part of that movie? Where
I actually really like Waterworld. I'm
all right.
I'm an apologist. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of that movie because it's just I don't even know what it is. It just kind of amuses me, like a technicality, is where some guy like if you give me some information, I promise I won't kill you or whatever, and the guy finally delivers. And Dennis Hopper pulls a gun on him, and the guy's like, wait! You said you'd promise not to kill me." And Dennis Hopper
shit.
Yeah, no. It was better. He's like, maybe I did say that. Maybe I did say that. And he passes his gun to one of his goons, who then kills him. It was like in Demolition Man, where Wesley Snipes can't kill that one asshole. So he's like, could one of you motherfuckers just kill this guy, please? And like, just all of them just shoot him.
If I had to pick one that I was going to be a part of, I would be Horizon Zero Dawn's apocalypse.
That apocalypse is terrifying.
It is, but it also doesn't ruin everything.
No, well, the world comes back, but humanity, it was a fucking fluke that you got what you got.
Yeah, I mean,
humanity should have died. That you should be on a planet populated by robots.
But there's technology still around. You can use it. You can find caches of things.
You can rebuild civilization.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be in Fallout because there's all kinds of mutants everywhere and
everything in Fallout
everywhere.
Is fucked up. Like, just because the game presents it in a quirky way does not mean that it'd be fun to actually live.
Yeah, Mad Max. There's just a lack of resources everywhere.
The worlds of ruin in Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
Kefka just blew shit up. Fucking deal with it.
Breath of the Wild is actually not so bad, but
it's basically a Zelda game. I mean,
well, but it's
like
It's the only post-apocalyptic Zelda game that I can.
Yeah, that's fair. By the way, I found this isn't really an apocalyptic scenario. Like, this isn't a post-apocalyptic scenario. But
that's not true. Ocarina of Time's time skip is post-apocalyptic.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That absolutely is. No, but what I was going to mention is this is more of apocalyptic than post-apocalyptic. But have you ever heard of Hellstar Ramina by Junji Ito?
I don't think I read that one.
That is one of his legitimately scarier stories I've seen. Like rivaling Gyo.
Wow.
Where the idea is an astronomer made a discovery. Like it seems to be like a new celestial body. Like you see like the extra little glow in the sky. It's like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. But then like the next day the glowy object is like clearly like way closer than it was when he had observed it last night.
Wow.
Which means that like who knows how fast that thing's traveling. Like that is bordering light speed. But then you see like Pluto and Uranus are just gone. And the thing's getting closer. Like Saturn and Jupiter, gone. Things getting closer. Like, whoa. And like eventually it approaches Earth and it's like a moon or planet size. It's not as big as Earth, but it's like it's planet sized. Like it's a planet sized living thing that like eats planets, and it just approaches Earth and waits for a little bit, and we're like, what the fuck do we do about this? It's got a giant tongue and it like licks Earth to taste it, and it like forcibly rapidly rotates the. It's like, this is the fucking word. Like there's nothing. You got nothing. There's no answer to this. Like I don't know what. Like Gyo, there's almost no answer to this. Uzumaki, there's no answer to this, but like the rest of the world moves on. Hellstar Ramina, you are straight fucked. Like there is nothing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Zombie apocalypse is like one of the worst ways to go, if you ask me, because
Yeah, that's
your
genuine.
loved ones get consumed by it, and
Because yeah, the thing is, you would have to live in the post apocalypse. You'd have to live in like World War Z, where like
you have to
we've
watch your
started to
back
recover.
constantly.
Because the thing with zombies is you can kill them, but like when everyone's a zombie, like the fuck do you do?
Yeah, you're always looking for resources. Yeah, I don't know, and then yeah, it's just
Yeah, so
it's
for
miserable.
hopeful scenario, I might go with Mad Max Fist of the North Star. Um, for hopeless, just kill me quickly.
Well, you
Uh,
got Thunderdome.
yeah,
you'll.
that sounds so fun. With you got Tina Turner. But yeah, for hopeless, maybe Godzilla or whatever. Although you do make a compelling argument. I had not considered Breath of the Wild. I still would Horizon Zero Dawn, the early stages, fuck that. But by the time like you can play the video game, it's past the stuff you learn in the lore. By the time we get to gameplay in Horizon, that seems more reasonable. But before gameplay starts, like the stuff you learn about what had happened, that
Yeah,
is
with
a death scenario. Like there's
yeah,
no way.
yeah.
That
Robots
is
that consume
horrific.
biological material. Yeah, that's pretty
That
awful.
is horrific,
Yeah.
especially when you learned like how they tried to stop it. Like that is nightmare.
Oh yeah, awful. Any actual apocalypse is gonna be awful. It's,
No, I mean that's true, but I mean running out of gas fucking blows, but there's not a wave of death coming at you like right now.
that's true. Well,
I mean
um,
that'll cripple the planet for sure, but like an infinite army of killer robots, like, get the fuck out.
that run on biological material, like that's their fuel.
Yeah, that's not good.
But anyway, I think we went through that pretty good. What do you think?
You know what? Um, Near
See, I don't know the details to that one, so don't ruin that for me.
the events that led up to it
Oh, I
were
do. The Drakengard ending.
yeah, that was the stuff between Drakengard 1 and Near is like utterly horrific. But living in Near, or even near well in Near
Yeah, I mean, it
Automata,
looks like people's lives aren't that bad unless they have the scroll or whatever the scroll illness.
well, you need to play the game to see what's going on. So
Oh, maybe it's
like
terrible.
gameplay Near is livable. Not gameplay stuff is pretty atrocious. Like it's just like the gameplay in Near you wouldn't mind living, but like what you are doing when you first turn the game on, when you're in like the
Oh,
post-apocalyptic city.
when he's fighting fending everything off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not yeah, like that world is no good. Like that is no good. Near Automata, it's cheating to answer this one because there are no humans. So it's robots versus other robots.
Like Wally style. Like
Yeah,
the only
yeah.
inhabitants of Earth are robots.
Yeah, like there is no human life on Earth. It's over. Yeah.
It's just Fred Willard and a bunch of
Well,
fat
I'm
humans.
talking Near Automata.
Yeah.
It's just Fred Willard. That was bizarre. Let's get the heck out of here.
And he did.
He did. Yeah, he fucked off. President of Earth just left. President of Earth was Fred Willard.
Oh, we weren't lucky enough to have Fred Willard as our president. Oh
He would
man.
get the heck out of here and leave us to the
This...
toxic plastic overload waste.
Well, we should wrap up for the
Yeah,
week
yeah, yeah.
here. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions and comments. Jeez, man, guys, you've been great. Keep it up. That was really really good. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud page. And while there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much everything.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
He does a fantastic job there, too.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we will catch everybody for another episode of Recon next week and on Tuesday. And don't forget, we have plenty more Castlevania to go over for
of course,
next Thursday as well. So we'll catch everybody next week for another batch of episodes.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.